Board of Supervisors meeting for Pen 1. And I see we're recording. Great. And I will do the roll call. I'll do that in alphabetical order. Emerald Bogue.
Here.
Sounds like Claudio Campuzano is not going to be here. And I don't see Annalisa. Annalisa, are you on the line? No. And Jeff Noodleman.
Here, present.
Great. So we have three board members and we have quorum. Let's go into public testimony. Do we have any public testimony today?
We don't have any public testimony. There is Jamie Damon is on the call. She is a consultant from Kearns and West, and she's going to be helping facilitate some of the public outreach related to the feasibility study and also helping with some of the work on the assets and liabilities projects. But she's just here to listen in. So I just want to let you know that there's somebody else in the room right now.
Super. Thank you. Let's move on to item C, signing authorities. Sunny?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. So unfortunately, we're still in deep in COVID and social distancing. And so we are requesting us to continue the electronic approval of checks for staff to then sign those checks through January 31st so that we can reduce the risk and contact amongst each other. So just wanted to see if you guys had any concerns or questions about how that process is going. And then if not, seek a motion to extend it through the end of January.
Are there any questions for Sunny?
Are you getting the turnaround your team needs?
Yes, okay. We are. We really appreciate everybody's being very responsive to getting those checks approved and then get them signed and sent out. So thanks for checking on that.
Great, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we continue with the check process. Did you say, Sunny, I'm sorry, did you say through when?
January 31st of 2021.
Okay, through January 31st, 2021.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Emerald. Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Emerald?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And this is James. I vote aye. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item D, Assets and Liability Working Group. Bill?
Yes, good afternoon, all. I believe you received a summary of the proposal that I'm going to be talking about prior to this meeting. I will not read through all of that for you, but I will just comment on a couple of items in there. The proposal is to add 2 advisory members to the current 4-member board working group for the Assets and Liabilities project. We have found through deliberations internally, as well as communication with a gentleman we've connected with in Clackamas County, about the value of having a strong stakeholder committee that can be influential for the revenue conversations, future revenue conversations and rate setting and so forth. With that in mind, while we have 4 strong folks on the current board, we thought it may be of value to add 2 additional members from the Urban District Board that could also listen, participate, but maybe not necessarily help make decisions about the assets and liabilities that the 4 districts are going to be grappling with. And in that mode, that would help once the work for this current effort is finished, those 2 additional members should be able to help advocate for the information that is presented to that initial board and help provide some background and some nuances about during those conversations to help what will certainly be a challenging effort to put together those rates. So proposal is to add 2 advisory members, not voting members, but advisory members to this or board, board working group for that project. Questions?
Bill, is our representative for Penn 1, is that Claudio?
It is, and the email back that maybe this is something I can send to Emily as a part of the notes from this meeting. You know what? Let me quote him. Sorry. He says, so this is an email from Claudio on October 9, saying, as a heads up, I won't be able to attend the meeting. I have an unavoidable conflict. I read the A&L memo, assets and liabilities memo. I'm fine. If you feel there's more for me to know, feel free to give me a ring or set up some time. So it appears he's in favor of this this proposal.
Great, that sounds good. Is there, do you, Bill, or do any of the staff have a thought on which of the new interim board members might be most appropriate for the function of being a liaison between the A&L group and the new interim board, as well as being an advocate in the future?
It looks like Peggy's on, so I'll let her comment on that if she's able.
I've talked to Mike Jordan about it. We have not identified two specifics that could be a part of the effort. The goal would be to have people that have some experience with this type of thing, because that's going to add to the conversation. They will be non-voting members. So, you know, getting the input, and I think Bill put it aptly earlier today, that it does kind of provide a connection to these two sets of boards, but I do not have a specific name at this point.
Great, thank you, Peggy. And I'm sorry if I missed this, Bill. Is this something that we'll vote on at like the November format, or?
No, if this board is comfortable with it, if you're okay with going in this direction, just giving us a general nod that this is the right way, this is the way that this board would like us to continue. And I'll be having similar conversations with the other three boards in the same manner. And if all four boards agree that this is the right direction, that's enough for us.
I don't have any objections. Emerald, Jeff, any objections to going this direction?
None here.
None. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, back to the agenda. Moving right along here. It looks like we're up to item E, the update on the interim board. Peggy?
I am trying to work toward a mechanism that I can be able to provide updates to this group on what is going on with that board. I know your representative can do the same, but I think it's helpful for me to at least kind of outline what they've done and what they're moving forward on. I heard this clearly in our strategic planning meeting with MCDD a couple weeks ago, and let me know if this is too much, too little, what do you want? But here goes a couple things. First and foremost, just to start out before we hit the urban district, is that you all know that fall blew in this weekend, and we did get rain, and it was a great opportunity to check how our system is working, which is, we had a little bumps and lumps, but nothing to worry about. And I know there's supposed to be some more rain today and some more next week, and a lot of blowing. So, but everything looks pretty much in order. A couple other general things I want to let you know is the MCDD in its budget for this year identified a half FTE to help with our finance group and to expand that role. And that individual would be split 50% to the districts and 50% for the new district. We are in the process of moving forward on that position, which will be helpful because there's a lot of work to do to get things moving forward, and always a lot when you're juggling 6 different boards' budgets. I also wanted to just let you know, didn't want you to be surprised. Sunny Simpkins has she and her family made the decision to move to Bend. She will continue to work in her position remotely through the end of December. We are, which is, thank heavens, she's a valuable member of our team and carries a lot of institutional knowledge and expertise that has been invaluable to us. But in the meantime, we will be going through and identifying kind of some organizational changes. I'm not really ready to talk about those yet, but just wanted you to be aware so no one's, if you see positions on the street, I'll let you know about the organizational change before there's any positions on the street. Next is to go into the Urban Flood Safety Water Quality District, or the Urban Board, is that as you all know, this is just a gentle reminder, and we have to, as staff, we have to remind ourselves, we are setting up a new government entity. It is the first government entity that we know of that's been established since Metro. So things are not going to be lightning quick, because there is a lot of kind of what I consider 3 general areas of function. One is administrative. One is making sure we're legal and have our policies in place, et cetera, as well as planning the effort of getting a revenue model in place to determine what that's going to look like and what we will ultimately deliver. But at this point, I just wanted to give you some idea of what things have been covered. And I'm going to also state, I know I say this 100 times, but I mean it 100 times. This staff is incredible. They do a tremendous amount of work, and they do a tremendous amount of work on a wide scope of issues. This expands everybody's horizon quite a bit with this new strength. But we are establishing bylaws for that organization. They should be adopting their final in December, we think. We've had to develop IGAs between the urban district and the JCA, and then we have MCDD has an agreement with the JCA on staff and services, so that had to be in place. We've had to go through with insurance, tax IDs, anti-harassment policy, bunch of things that, kind of go over time to most organizations, but we've got to get in place right away. As well as, we had to register with the state of Oregon as a registered agent, and there's, we're talking funding issues. One thing I'll just give you an update on the funding is, as you know, we got the $500,000 from the state. It sits in the JCA. It is available for that new district. $40,000 grant from the 4 districts currently for this year to help them. And then there is an effort and preliminary head nods from the LRC to provide $123,000 additional dollars to the new district, which gives them a total of $663. I did that in my head, but it does increase their amount. The thing that that board is working on now is that's just for FY21. There is no money for FY22 and out. We fall off a cliff. We are working through the state for additional grant. And that board also has set up a budget committee to look at alternative fundings. One of them is looking at maybe lines of credit or a loan or some mechanism to get them started and through till the new district funding mechanism in place. But they are working toward that. There were a number of discussions as far as briefings. We've been trying to get them up to speed. you all know you understand the system, you understand the district, you understand we have a number of members, probably half, who are unfamiliar. And we've talked about this before, but we have gone through a pretty steady process of identifying how their roles and responsibilities are different than yours, the existing districts. We've gone through, Bill and Colin did an excellent job giving them an overview of the overall system and how it functions. We have also gone through kind of an overview of the proof of concept principles that were done by the LRC when they developed their rate structure that was used and shared with the legislature for the final legislation. So we've we're bringing them along as quickly as we can. We get 2 hours a month, it's limited. I anticipate things will move quicker once they get their, when they get their committees together, which are going to need to be done in the next few months. Which just means, yes, that they'll move more quickly, but that also means more staff time to support those committees. Strategy-wise, we've helped them with a work plan and identified where some of their, where they need to fill in the budget. We are going through, we also went through a revenue development focus to help them get kind of structured on what are the categories of a rate model or a revenue model, and gave them 11 different categories: operations and maintenance, capital planning, equity, environmental, administration, all 11 different components. We went through an exercise and had each of the members identify what they thought were the top 5 from their perspective. They came back out with, they talked about equity, they talked about capital planning, they talked about operations and maintenance, federal safety standards, and emergency operations. Those were kind of the 5 that moved to the top. We then asked that board to form 3 different groups and weigh in as well and see if those things shifted at all. And it came in, equity was kind of their overarching for all of the groups that came in, recognizing it really needs to be, this is an opportunity to embed it early and not later. They raised environmental, which they didn't do as individuals, but as teams, they did identify environmental and capital planning, operations and maintenance, and the federal safety standards. So it was a little bit of a shift. It was interesting to see. We're moving into, Colin will be spending time next week kind of introducing them to the components of the model that was developed through the LRC, recognizing there's going to be some things that are similar, but there's probably more difference with the new district than there was with the old process, because we're looking at things much broader. And we're starting with them on their mission, vision, values to help steer them in the direction of understanding, okay, well, how do we address all of these categories and make sure we're measuring them against develop a mission, vision, and value to help kind of get all those categories into a structure. And so we'll be starting that process. And I anticipate there'll be outreach during then. So that's kind of where we are. We're going to also talk about signing authorities and other things that, and contracts and spend to date and things like that. But those are general components. And we'll also be talking to them if all of the 4 boards agreed about member for the asset and liability work groups. Any questions, concerns? Too much, too little?
It's a lot.
Yep.
Well, it won't be quite so much next time because you'll have already gotten up to speed.
Yeah, I think that's just right. I think it'll be interesting in the future briefings to take note of anything that's drastically behind schedule or challenging that the boards might want to know about.
And I'll tell you, this is my perspective. This is exactly where I thought they'd be. I mean, I know there are people that, oh, we want to start the revenue model, and we want to get this, we want to get that. And the reality is we've got to get, I've assumed that the rest of this calendar year was kind of to establish the foundation and then be able to start picking at the big pieces. So I am not surprised at this point.
Good news. Moving on then, are we ready for any new business, item F?
We do, Colin. You have two things. I think Colin wants to bring two things forward that we want to make sure you're aware of.
Thank you. Hello. Good afternoon to you. I wanted to give you two updates. The first is on some grant funding opportunities that we're pursuing. One in particular that would benefit Penn 1 is through FEMA. They have a new grant program called the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, the BRIC grant program. Previously, a lot of the hazard mitigation program funds were really just for either small buyouts of properties to reallow floodplains, or basically to replace or kind of pre-mitigation replacement of things with better flood proofing. This new program is actually a much larger, more robust program that allows projects even up to $50 million. And so it actually is looking at more innovative ways to do pre-disaster capacity building and to increase resiliency in systems. And so one project that is identified that would really benefit Penn 1 and benefit the system would be the replacement of the Penn 1 or the PIR pump station. And so I've been working with the planner at the Portland Bureau of Emergency Management to get this project included. The timeline basically looks like this. September 30th is when applications were open. The city or the county, but in this case, the city has to be the sub-applicant because the Penn 1 or all the drainage districts don't have a FEMA-approved natural hazard mitigation plan. And so the city would submit this application to the state, and the state would make the decision whether or not it sort of met their own internal criteria and whether or not they would want to submit it to FEMA. That application is sort of ongoing. I have a pre-application into the city, and PBEM has been coordinating with both BES and Parks just to make sure this is something that they want to support, which I think they do, and so need to work on actually getting it to the state. The state would then invite us to actually do the full application, which would be mid-November, I believe. And then we'd have to have that in by the end of January. We would hear back from them from FEMA, most likely in April or May. But yeah, so what that pre-application would basically be the full replacement. I think there's 3 different projects that are currently in your CIP, and they total about $3.8 to $5 million. And so that's it would be the package of replacement projects, both for the pumps and for the actual structure. So hopefully I will be able to submit that to the state, and I will definitely give you all a update on that. Just a little bit of follow-up from there is that we have identified that it is very important for the drainage districts themselves to have natural hazard mitigation plans. And so Brian Eberhardt, who is our emergency manager for the districts, something that he will begin most likely even this fall, but really it's going to be this spring, is actually getting a natural hazard mitigation plan for the districts annexed into the county's natural hazard mitigation plan. So that's something the county has allowed for the drainage districts to do. It has benefits other than just applying for grants. It also has benefits for post-disaster. If we have projects that are identified and those projects get damaged during a flood event, it's easier for application to get money to replace them. So there's a lot of benefits for it. And it's also an important communication tool with the public to let people know where our natural hazard mitigation priorities are, as well as what issues that we need to resolve in the system through infrastructure replacement. Are there any questions about that BRIC grant opportunity or what we know about it right now? All right, and this is something that they will be, that FEMA should be replenishing every year. I think in total there's about $500 million for this year one, and the expectation is for a similar replenishment going forward. And the other update is related to the feasibility study. And I just wanted to give you as a board a heads up and an update as the Corps is going through and doing what they call the optimization process. They've been refining their alignment, and that is what they presented to you during the format last month. And in that process, they've basically identified one parcel that most likely they will need to either do a property buyout or a reallocation, just because of the alignment and really, the other options. And they've looked at 3 different options for how to align it, and none of them are great, but most likely it will require that property to be bought out or relocation provided. So just so you know, the Corps is going to reach out to that property owner and have a discussion, basically talking about how that design looks, hopefully identify any issues up early. We'd be able to give you all an update on that. But I think what's important is that the property owner is aware of what the overall project and project needs are, and then we can actually have a conversation after that to basically go through whatever scenarios there are, and how we can actually work with the property owner to make sure that this is as positive as possible for the overall project need. So yeah, I know that not having specifics on it, but this is also what the Corps is doing with the other property owners that will require some changes to their either existing property, whether it's the golf course or the railroads. So this is a sort of similar conversation just to really identify any issues earlier, because when they're done with the feasibility study, they're just going to be at the sort of conceptual 30% design level, and they want to get as much of the information out and upfront as possible. Any questions about that or anything else on the feasibility study at this time?
No, thank you, Colin. I know grants are always, you can't count them until you have them in hand, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of competition, but I just want to express appreciation for kind of weeding through the details of a new grant program and advocating for the assets in Penn 1. Very much appreciated.
No comments. I just agree and share my thanks for kicking the tires on this. It's definitely appropriate to have measured expectations, and I think you do, and so thanks.
All righty. Any other new business? Okay. Emily, do we need to record or read what's in the chat? Is that? Oh, you're on mute.
It's nothing that's like pertaining to the agenda items or like any deliberations. I think it's fine. Now you're muted.
Touche. I will just reiterate Emerald's comment in the chat, which is congratulations and to Sunny, and thanks for continuing on during a period of transition. I know today is not goodbye, but very excited about the opportunity you have, and we will miss you, but not until sounds like February. Okay. Anything else? No? All right. Well, we were efficient thanks to the board and the staff, and kind of following on Peggy's comments that fall is here. I hope that everyone gets a chance to get out on those sunny days and enjoy the fall, enjoy October. If you eat candy, make sure you brush and floss. And with that, I guess we'll see you next time. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
All right.